first, right, guys? That's how I go last.
Pretty much just tell us how you live around you, that's the way you talk and how you speak and stuff.
Write a paragraph describing how the regions around you affect the way your language changes over time. And as you see, this is just kind of like an example of how our language is just kind of like the hardest language to learn. For the fact that you could say both those words and they would sound the exact same. So you guys can get out a piece of paper like now. Get out a piece of paper like now before I have to repeat myself and give you guys homework. You don't gotta write a full paragraph, you don't gotta write a big paragraph, just, wherever you're from, y'all, just different things that you learn from your parents, stuff like that. And put your pencil down and look up when you're done. No, I'm pretty sure I've done the lesson for the day, so.
What is today's date?
Teacher 15.
I think you guys all did it.
Teachers are on your day. You'll be one. One of your days. What do they teach you? Hey, you gotta write what you're. I did. Oh, you did? Okay. Put the pencil down like that. All right. Let me tell you about my third cousin. True story. Oh, worship. Everyone good?
No. You asked us to write a paragraph.
A little bit more time. I thought you didn't have to be a grand paragraph. Just get the gist, get your point out there. If you got your point out in 2 sentences, then that's fine.
What is not a paragraph?
We don't need a paragraph. We just want them to.
It's his third. It's the third word.
I didn't write it. Did I write it? No, I didn't.
I didn't think you're teaching it.
Okay. Well, I do mine anyway.
All right.
Is everyone done? Okay, Gabe. You gonna go? Oh shit. Does anyone wanna read this out loud?
Gabe? Gabe?
You don't have to, Gabe.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, actually, yeah, you do.
Okay. Anyone? Any volunteers?
I could give an example.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My wife always gives me a hard time because I pronounce the L in words like walk and talk. And she says, no, it's walk and talk. I was like, no, it's not talk. That's like tick-tock. That's what a clock does. And if you look at I don't know why you would, but you could. Look at a dialect map of the United States, and it will show areas. I bet they're going to show this very dialect map. But it shows that different areas of the country, it's a regional kind of thing, that they pronounce the L's in certain words and not in other words. I'm originally from East Tennessee, and apparently in East Tennessee it is more common to hear that middle L in words like calm and talk and walk than it is here. So I think that's kind of interesting, and that would be the kind of thing that I would write in a class starter. Another example might be the y'all thing for an informal plural of the word you. Again, in East Tennessee, it's not y'all, or at least it wasn't when I was a kid. It was youans.
You and
Yeah, because I can remember my granny calling, youans come eat now.
that's awesome.
Yeah, in Chicago, it's not y'all or youans, it's yous guys.
These guys.
Yeah.
Car keys or cocky.
Khakis. Yeah. And in Boston, you park your car in the yard. Okay? It's not just accent, it's, it's how words are put together sometimes. Okay.
What do all languages do over time? They change. Good. All languages change over time and transform, basically evolve, like any animal person does. How does the development of the written language influence change? The way we write kind of change the way we actually talk. You don't, texting right now, you say you, but you like the letter U, but you still say you, and WTF or all those abbreviations.
What does that stand for?
Everything. Whales thing or
Wait till Friday.
Wait till Friday. Exactly.
Wait till Friday.
That just kind of, people actually say that. I find it very stupid. People, oh, well, I'm like, why don't you just laugh? Is it that much harder to just laugh? But just, the written language has changed the way we talk. Just to, a person, if you're talking to someone formal, obviously you're going to talk to them formal, sound out every syllable. You're going to say every word that you mean. But texting's been a big factor in the way our language has changed.
Hey, group,
No,
which came first, written language or spoken language?
spoken.
Spoken language?
Yeah.
Okay. How old are our earliest written records? Does anybody know?
The Dead Sea Scrolls are a
Couple
couple thousand years old.
thousand years old? To maybe several thousand years old. I think our very earliest written records that we know about are probably 5,000 to 6,000 years old. Do you think people before then were speaking? Well, of course they were. Written language is invented. Spoken language comes naturally. Written language is a code system. It's how we transfer our thoughts and our spoken stuff into a permanent form so we can share it with other people. But spoken language came first. Written language has evolved, and it has evolved little cues like punctuation marks as a way of indicating all the nonverbal stuff that we do, all the pauses, all the emphasis. That has evolved into the code system. So what Zach was talking about with the LOLs and WTFs and stuff, a lot of the times that's there to kind of take care of a lot of the nonverbal communication that you don't have time to write it all out, especially when you've only got maybe 140 characters or less. And sometimes those little emoticons and those abbreviations can help take care of a lot of that nonverbal communication. It's really kind of a, if you think about it from that sense, it's a cool way that the language has evolved to take advantage of digital technology that, requires communication in a very small space. Okay, group?
How does isolation influence language change? In any, it says right there, at any age, if you are isolated from everyone else, you're going to be left behind. Everything is constantly evolving. If you are, off the texting and off the internet for, 2 months, you're not going to know everything that's going on. You're not going to know all the WTF. You're not going to know what the cat smiley face or the little girl going like this. You're not going to know what that means. As well as use, an actual word that's just common sense at that point. A child that is never around anyone will never learn a language. They will be very, very, inner. They won't talk as much. They basically will not learn a language until they start actually hearing it. That's why I try not salty. if you were not around, if I wasn't around all you guys, you know, I probably wouldn't have learned any of those words. I don't really know what swag is. But, it doesn't. It's just swag.
Kind of like swag words, you probably shouldn't say it.
I'm gonna say it all the time.
I have swag.
Migration influence on language. Who's all not from Oklahoma? Raise your hand. Where are you from? Boston. Okay. Do your parents still kind of use the same talk they did when they were from when they were living in Boston? Okay. So the way when he migrated, he kind of intermingled Oklahoma and Boston. That doesn't sound good to me, but that's for a wide or for a that's what happened. Oh, that's just a guess. But you know, he uses, you know, and as people move out, and then their language just basically starts to change. As this group comes over to this group, that their language is going to change from meeting new people, hearing different ways of saying it, and they'll just start picking everything up. It facilitates the spread of language and a dialect to a wider region. So a lot of different countries, like France, for instance, they have a lot of different dialects. I know that only because I paid attention a few days in French class. Provence has a way different language than Charlemagne. Charlemagne is more elegant. Provence is more kind of dirty. You know, if you went to Louisiana, it would not be the same as if you were in France. So that's just basically what that's saying. How contact with others influence language. Basically, what I was saying, you know, kind of with your parents and your friends. If your friend is from a different area, they talk different. They will rub off on you, kind of, and you will do the same. Not physically, if that's, but you know, this question.
Yeah. So eventually, do you think it would, if you hung out in a place that had a specific kind of language, do you think you'd be able to notice where you were originally from? Do you think you'd notice it in there? Like, could you hear the Boston in Blake's voice, or the Boston in his voice, and the English in my voice after a long enough period of time, or would you just hear what it's from? I mean, where they are now. I said Blake, didn't I? Not Blake, I'm sorry.
Well, being immersed in a new language or a different dialect, talking the way you do, I don't think I talk too Okie, but I find myself talking like that, and I feel like if you were in that area long enough, that you probably would lose yourself in it, and it would just be second nature. You know,
And let me jump in here too a little bit, please. It's also not just individuals. We're talking about groups of people too. You know, for example, when the English settlers came over here to America, you know, for the first time, they were exposed to, you know, not just new plants and new animals that don't exist in England. That would be migration, a migration effect on language. But they also ran into the native tribes. And you know that a lot of our words for, you know, place names are Indian derived. Look at a map of Oklahoma. I mean, how many town names in Oklahoma come from Indian words, right? Yeah, and in that early settler period too, you know, there were lots of treaties